Hello YouTube. As you can see here, I've got a lot of spirally circular mandala type patterns. My name is PJ, and I am going to show you how to make those. So I've got my new file here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a container that is 7 inches round. And then we're going to center it. I like working with containers because you only have to create one. I'm going to remove the fill and stroke and then make a group out of it. It's Command or Control G, depending on if you're on the Macintosh or a PC. I'm going to show my layers here and expand the layer so we can actually see what's in it. So we have the group. I'm going to name it Art. And then I'm going to put an effect on it. Transform. Let's go with 60 degrees. And 5 copies. And I could do a preview, but there's actually nothing inside the container. So now we're going to take our art container, which now has an effect applied to it, as you can see by this little gray button on top of the circle that's on the right side, meatball. And now we're going to go into isolation mode. Okay, still can't see anything, but there's art. Now we can take a brush and choose something like, let's deselect so it doesn't apply it to the container. And come in here like this. And it has a white stroke, which we want a black stroke. And we don't want the transform applied to the brush stroke, so we're going to go back to the effect and remove the transform. So as you can see, one brush stroke becomes repeated throughout the container. Now if you want a mirror image, we can come back here, select Art, come back here. You can add a completely new transform. I like to duplicate. Then we're going to take off the 60-degree rotate, change it to one copy, and reflect X. And there, it's, we got a left-right reflection. I can come in here like this and reshape our first brush stroke to get something a little more artistic. I'm going to deselect, select the brush tool again. This is because we're in isolation mode. Draw a few more brush strokes. Now if you do Command or Control Y to see where the brush strokes are, you see the container, and you see just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 brush strokes. So I go back to Command or Control Y. And you can see that not only do we have copies going around in a circle, we have a copy reflecting left to right so that it looks kind of like a flower. Another thing I sometimes do, a warning, if you, where's my desktop? Here we go. Once you save a file, you are kicked out of isolation mode. If you actually want some guides as to how you can structure your content, layers. Okay. Width 3.5 inches. Where do we go? Zoom out. Ah, should be 30. Come back and add another transform. We're going to set our reference point there. It's very early in the morning. I'm still not quite fully awake. Let's see if you hit preview here. You can, now if you want another one so you can judge the reflect, layer, change our reference point, which is being difficult, 90. That's, yeah, we see that. But we can come back in here. Oh, no, we don't want to effect. We just want to edit this one. And change our reference point to the bottom. And then give it a different color. I didn't want to do that. So I will group these two, send them to the back. Then I can select Art, go back into isolation mode, and they're dimmed out. So what you can actually see here is the relationship of where you're putting the lines down to the grid. So like if you want pick a different brush. This one. That's why I add a little contrast in here. You can add it in and not be afraid of, you know, stepping into a boundary you don't want to. And the beauty of working with a container, okay, even though we're in isolation mode, we still see the guide, but you can actually work all the way around without having to worry about stepping on something else. That one looks weird, so we're going to expand our, okay, here, and then here's the reflect. You can get that spatial feeling of where you're actually putting stuff down. So if you step away and come back and think, oh, I want one here, you're not restricted to working in one section of the pie, to say. You have some artistic freedom and license. And if you want to come back and change more elements, you have that freedom, because when you're looking at something on one side, based on your angle of view, you may not feel comfortable with putting it here. You may think, oh, I can put it in right there and that'll fit, without it, wondering whether or not you're in the right place. Now I feel like I'm getting a little too chatty. My name is PJ. I have artwork online at Greeting Card Universe. My store name is PJ Castle. I also have artwork on Etsy, PJ Castle. I'm going to be saving this. Like I said, once you save, you're kicked out of isolation mode, and it's all good. You want to hide those guides? They're hidden. Now you can get an idea of what it looks like without the guides.